Hi everyone, so I'm sorry if my videos have been really crappy quality lately, but unfortunately some of us can't afford expensive cameras. And my camera is a $30 camera from Walmart, and it's got an HD mode, and every time I turn it on HD mode it still has crappy quality, so I figure I might as well do my 640 whatever it is quality, because it's full screen and the HD is like widescreen and it's really annoying. But anyway, that's just my camera problems, and this has nothing to do with the video that I'm making. I haven't been able to make videos quite as frequently as I'd like to because, oh my god, I have so much stuff going on. It's not even funny. Midterm week is next week, and I'm actually spending today studying because we have the day off from school, and we have the day off from school because the roads are completely destroyed by snow. So luckily I got out of doing one of my midterms in class today. But this video is going to be about my bipolar disorder and dealing with pregnancy and the bipolar disorder and how difficult it really is. I'm wearing this shirt because not a lot of my shirts fit me, so this is the only like pajama type shirt I have that fits, that doesn't have the name of my school on it. I was diagnosed with bipolar type 2 over a year ago, and it was like before the summertime. And I was actually diagnosed at a mental hospital where they did like a screen where they just ask you questions and they pretty much diagnose you from there. And I wasn't being medicated for it at all, which I should have been, because my bipolar is actually really out of whack. I'm not saying mine is worse than anybody else's, but it's pretty bad. It sucks. And a lot of people really don't understand. But my mom and my dad were both bipolar. Well, they still are. I think my dad is bipolar. He hasn't been diagnosed. But, no offense to you, Daddy, I love you. But, I know that they both have some type of bipolar. So bipolar mixed with bipolar equals a bipolar baby. So I was pretty much destined to have it. But anyway, when I was at the hospital, they put me on some medications that have really improved my life. Before, I used to be like frantic, and I was like out there crazy and just so sad all the time, so angry all the time, so emotional all the time. And I know that that's part of being a teenage girl, but at the same time it shouldn't be as harsh as it was. I was very mean to my grandmother. I was horribly mean to her, and people always said that they felt so bad for her because of how mean I was. And after a while that started to sink in, and now it makes me feel like crap, and I'm trying my hardest to make up for lost time that I've spent being rude and mean to her. It's very difficult for people to tell me how awful I treated people, because in actuality I didn't really mean to. And everybody's like, oh well, you meant to, you're the one that did it. But bipolar people sometimes also experience blackouts, which are where you literally don't remember anything that you did. Apparently one time I went after my grandmother's boyfriend with a knife. Do I remember it? No. Do I wish that I didn't do it? Yes. I told my grandmother that I hated her and that if I killed myself she wouldn't care, and all this other horrible stuff, and just nothing I'd say. Like, now that's horrible. Why would you say that to somebody? But it just makes you feel so bad because you're the one that said it. But dealing with bipolar and pregnancy has been really difficult because my medications were really high at one point. I was on Buspar, which was 50 milligrams in the morning and 50 milligrams at night. And then I was on Zoloft, which was 50 milligrams in the morning, and that was it, because I couldn't take any more than that, because it would actually counteract the effects and make me more depressed, so I had to stay on the low dose. And then on my Seroquel, I am now up to 300 milligrams, which is really scary because I kind of depend on the Seroquel a little bit. If I don't take my Seroquel one day, I will literally lock myself in the room for the whole day. I will not turn on my phone. I will not turn on my computer. I won't turn on anything. I won't leave my room for the entire day. I won't make social contact with anybody because I'm afraid that I'll hurt them. Not physically, of course, but verbally. And it's really scary to be dependent on a medication that bad, because it makes me think, what if when I'm older I can't afford this? Like, what if when I'm older my insurance won't cover it? What if? There's so many what ifs, but this medication has kept me from being the person that I used to be, which is amazing. I am actually so grateful for the fact that somebody came up with this medication to help people with chemical imbalances of the brain, because Seroquel is used to treat bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. And when I think of myself taking an anti-schizophrenic drug, it makes me really scared because I don't have schizophrenia, and I know that I don't. And it's just weird knowing that you're taking the same medication that somebody else with a completely different disease that you know nothing about is taking it too. And I don't know why it's scary, but it is. It makes me feel like I'm not normal. It made me feel awful taking it, because I knew that all of my friends weren't taking it, and everybody I knew wasn't on medications, and as far as I knew anyway. Turns out a lot of people are actually on antidepressants, but the Seroquel was a totally different ballgame. But being at the hospital, it totally introduced me to people that were like myself, and they were on the medications too, and they had been working with it too, and it just felt great to not feel alone in this situation. But as soon as I found out I was pregnant, the Bipolar had to go. The Bipolar was for my anxiety, and paranoia, because I would get so paranoid about the stupidest things. Like, I'd be in the car, and we'd be 3 feet behind another car, and they slam on the brakes, and just, oh my god, it is so scary for me. I would freak out and just scream, and then sometimes in the middle of the night I'd wake up and I'd hear a noise and I'd start freaking out. I'd be like, somebody's gonna try to kill me. And everybody thought that I was just over exaggerating, I was being so weird, but I felt this way. I felt like there was something that was going to go wrong. So that's what the Bipolar was for, and I had to be taken completely off that as soon as I found out I was pregnant. The minute that we found out, I called my med doctor. She actually distributes the medication through the prescription. She doesn't actually have the pills and everything, but she talks to me about my symptoms and everything that's going on, and she just gives me this, or gives my grandmother, I'm not allowed to touch any of it, the script for my medication, and I also have to get blood work done a lot too. But the Bipolar had to be dropped. I already said that. And then I was freaking out because I thought that they were going to take my Seroquel away. I was so scared that they were going to take me off of my Seroquel because I was afraid that the emotional trauma my body was going to go through was going to hurt the baby significantly, because I just am a total hot mess when I'm off my Seroquel. And that was really scary, to think that I'm going to be harming my baby by getting off of a drug that can harm my baby. But it turns out I talked to all of my doctors. I talked to my pediatrician, I talked to my OB, I talked to my med check doctor, and I talked to my therapist. And they all concluded that the Seroquel and Zoloft would do no harm to the baby. Those commercials on TV that you see all the time about Zoloft and bad drugs and blah blah blah, Apparently, it's just a bunch of lawyers trying to get money, and there are no proven extreme side effects from these medications. The babies that were born on Seroquel sometimes can be low birth weight, but I'm not worried about that because my son is already way over a pound right now, and I'm only 5.5 weeks. I'm only 5.5 months. Hold on one second, my phone's ringing. Okay, so that was actually my doctor setting up another appointment for me. But like I was saying, I talked to all of my doctors about the option of staying on my medications, and they were all for it. They all said that it would be much healthier for the baby if I stayed on my medications while I was pregnant than it would be if I got off of them. The only thing they said was they were going to do Zoloft while I plan to breastfeed so that the baby will not withdraw from it. And it's not me feeding the drug to the baby. Me and the baby are going to be weaning off of it together. And we're going to do that process quite quickly. And they just have it all figured out, and I am just going with it. But with the Seroquel in pregnancy, like I said, it's only led to low birth weight, which I'm not really worried about with him because he's already a big baby. My uterus is already stopped below my rib cage, so I'm actually a little worried about that, but that's an issue I gotta discuss with my doctor. Another issue I have to discuss with my doctor about the bipolar disorder and my pregnancy is the fact that I want to exclusively breastfeed. I want to breastfeed him until he is about 6 months of age, and then we're going to move to formula because it'll just be easier for everyone because I'm going to be in school and everything all over again, and it'll be much harder. But when I need to talk to my doctors about my Seroquel with breastfeeding, because apparently there are a lot of bad side effects to breastfeeding with Seroquel, which I didn't really understand because you're feeding the baby the drug directly through the umbilical cord, but then you're feeding the baby the drug directly through the breast milk as well. So it made me wonder maybe like what was going on. But I have to talk to my doctor about that. I can't just trust Google because that's where I actually read about the risks of breastfeeding while you're on the medication. So I definitely have to talk to my doctors and the baby's pediatrician about that, which I don't even have a pediatrician for the baby yet. But anyway, that is just about my medications, and now I'm going to talk about my bipolar during my pregnancy. Bipolar during pregnancy is still definitely very difficult to deal with, because I will get to school and I'll be all energetic and I'll be ready to go, and something will go wrong and I'll be miserable all day. Not like miserable like, hey you kid, I'm gonna punch you in the face, you're making me mad, but but miserable as in like I'm just tired and drained and I just want to go home and I want to do anything but be here right now. But you have to think that you need to stay in school because you need to do this for the baby, you need to do this for yourself, you need to do this for everyone because it's the best option. It's the only free thing in life that you have. Well, kind of. School is the only free education you will ever receive, because in college you're going to pay through the nose just to go to class. And so it's kind of led me in the direction of staying, and I'm definitely going to stay, and I'm going to make it the best situation that I possibly can. But going to school and with my bipolar disorder, it's really difficult because I try to put a smile on my face most of the day, and then when I'm genuinely happy, a lot of people can tell, but then some people see it in my face, they're like, you don't look too good, and blah 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 blah, and it's just because I'm so like zoned out. Like I feel so not really upset, I'm more focused on other things than the baby during school. Like whatever lesson we're learning that day, I will get very into it unless the baby starts moving and I'll completely just not listen anymore. I know that that's really bad, but school is just kind of a nightmare because you've got so many people talking to you and asking you questions. And I was stating something to my friends that another person had heard me say, and they're just like, should you really be doing that while you're pregnant? And it's like, I am the one that's pregnant, not you. You need to chill out and just leave me alone. And it's pretty much about the medication that I'm on and everything like that. Everybody thinks they know something about what I'm doing with my life and something about pregnancy, even though you've never been pregnant in your life, not even once. And it's just really difficult to listen to other kids judging you about stupid little things. And it just makes you want to go insane because you know all of these things, because you've read the books, you've talked to the doctors, you've talked to everyone, you've made sure that everything you do is okay for your baby and your baby's like survival and your baby's health. And like, I won't even eat potato chips anymore because I'm afraid that the salt and everything will affect the baby, because I'm already getting enough sodium through the steak and just homemade meals that are so delicious. But I know that there's enough sodium in them, and I should stay away from sodium induced foods. Like, if I'm going to eat Ritz crackers, they have to be sodium free. And it is just so difficult to be a teenager and think about what you're eating. I have no clue how some people do it because I can't. Substituting an entire carton of chocolate ice cream for some strawberries is really difficult, because I'd rather have that chocolate ice cream, but I know that the strawberries are going to be good for the baby along with good for me, and it's really hard for me to accept the fact that I can't really eat what I want. But that's just one thing that makes me mad, is when people judge me when they really don't know much about my pregnancy or anything. The mood swings during school and the mood swings at home are definitely really hard to deal with, because you've got bipolar disorder stacked on top of teenage emotions stacked on top of pregnancy hormones. The one thing that seriously makes me truly happy nowadays is the fact that I have my son, because he has really opened my eyes and made me realize, you know, this is life. It's not YOLO. It's not, oh, I can go party and do whatever I want and sleep with whoever I want and do whatever I want because I'm a teenager and I can do whatever I want. No. When you're a teenager, you're supposed to be focusing on school. You're supposed to be focusing on things that are going to make you better as an adult. And the fact that this has rushed me into adulthood so fast, even though a lot of you people are going to say, oh, you're not an adult, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it makes you realize that you really need to focus on what's important, and you need to focus on what's going to make you succeed in life, what's going to make you have a great life, instead of partying and drinking and just doing all this stuff that's going to potentially hurt you. Like I'm saying, my bipolar disorder with my pregnancy has been kind of difficult, but it's nothing that I can't handle. The only thing I'm truly worried about with this is the fact that I might have to get off of my Seroquel to breastfeed the baby, which is kind of scary, but at the same time, I think about it and I think there are a lot of people that are going to help me with this. There are a lot of people that are going to sit there and say, you know what, you can do this. If you need a break right now, you can have a break right now. If you need to just cry and scream, I will take the baby in the other room and you can cry and you can do whatever you need to do to get yourself stress-free. I have people there that'll do that for me. And it's just, oh my God, I'm so grateful for that. But I know that there's so many people there that support me through the fact that I might not be on my medication, because it's crippling to me. It really is. I need my medication because I seriously feel like I have a dependency on it. I need it. If I don't have it, I'm the same person that I used to be, and it's hard for me to realize that that's not always the truth, that you sometimes people, after they've been on the medications, after they get pulled off of them for a little while, it really opens your eyes to how normal you can be. So if it works, it works, and I might not even ever go back on it. But if it does not work, then I can always go back on it, and he can always switch the formula. The only thing that matters to me is the fact that I know that my baby got the best nutrition that he could possibly get, even for a day. even for a day, he gets the best nutrition that he can possibly get. But I'm striving for 6 months. That is what I'm striving for. And if I can do it longer, I'll do it longer. But yeah, it's scary. But yeah, that's pretty much how my bipolar and my pregnancy have gone, and that's pretty much how I explain bipolar disorder to a bunch of people. I often talk to the health class in my school every year about bipolar disorder because they do a mental health unit, and it's easier for the teacher to have someone there that knows what it's like to live with it on a day-to-day basis, for him to get a student to come into class. And also I'm going into classes with the baby when the baby's born and while I'm pregnant to explain to students how contraceptives don't always work. No matter how hard you try to make yourself safe, it's not always safe. And no matter how hard you try to have a great life for yourself, if you're sexually active and you don't protect yourself at all, you're going to get pregnant. You're going to, don't think just because you're on birth control means that you shouldn't use a condom, because that's exactly what I thought. I thought that it wasn't necessary because I was on birth control, and it just turned out this way. But that's pretty much what I talk to the classes about, and I might actually do a video on that, talking about what I normally talk to the classes about. I'm going to see if I can get the health teacher to write down some questions for me that I can answer to the camera. And yeah, so that is my story on my bipolar, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, because I felt like I was rambling the whole time, but still, it's all the truth. It's how I feel, and it's how this, it's how I'm not letting this condition affect me as much as I should. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!